Hello out there, my friends. It is I, Hondo Onaka. Now you know what to do. You must tune in to my favorite podcast, the Fiveish Fangirls. Otherwise, there could be consequences.
The tangents as we continue all the way to episode 423 of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. And I am back from Kentucky. And it was a thing. Stuff happened. We'll talk about it. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. So glad you joined us. Let's start off like we did with Virtual Table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany Belvedere.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel back in Indianapolis, Indiana. I have returned from the land of Colonel Sanders. Or something like that. Oh, all right. First things first. Some news. Netflix has been very busy recently. So we got some trailers and some announcements, like the fact that Linda Hamilton of Terminator fame is going to be joining Stranger Things season 5.
Hey,
So
Keeping up that tradition of 80s stars joining is always fun.
Yep.
and plenty of time for a rewatch too.
Yep. So that is exciting. And to see how exactly they involve her. So.
Which is weird. I could have sworn I saw something that they weren't going to be introducing new characters in season 5.
Yeah,
So she could be, maybe she did like a cameo type thing.
that could be.
Who knows?
And I'm still waiting to see if my theory is right about a certain guitar wielder. Still not. Being dead.
Yeah. Oh. It'd be interesting to see how she gets, how they end up using her.
And how many
it's
Terminator
be,
references they're going
really,
to be putting in.
Exactly. So, because it's like, is it going to be, different than what we know her for? Or is it going to be something similar? Because like what they did with Robert Englund was, keeping in that creepy Freddy Krueger type space that he's known for. So
Yeah.
interesting to see.
I would really lose my cool if Robert Patrick makes a cameo appearance.
Yeah.
But he was more. When did I have to check and see when Terminator 2 came out. That might be too.
That I think was 90s. I think that was early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that might be jumping about the 91.
Well,
yeah. Well, you never know.
Aren't we supposed to be doing a time jump into in season 5 though?
This is true.
That is true. So it might. Hey, I'm just spitballing, but
Just saying.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I went there.
Yep. But
I'll be here all week. Try to be.
Yeah. And then we got a couple of trailers for some documentaries that are going to be dropping on Netflix this summer, including a documentary about Wham using footage and all sorts of things from both George Michael and Andrew's personal archives. So that's gonna
This
be
is
really
gonna
cool.
That's gonna be real interesting.
Yeah. So that should be quite interesting because because a lot of times like Wham is like a thing that happened during George Michael's career. But as far as I know, most of the time, most like documentaries or whatever, they just focus on just George Michael, and Wham is just like a thing they talk about, like, oh, this is the thing that happened during his career. As far as I know, there hasn't been anything that focuses just on Wham and not just George. Like Wham was not just George Michael. So like Andrew was like his best friend. So like, they've been best friends from like school. So.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if they went that route just because of the animosity between the split.
I don't know.
Who knows?
I mean, but if the fact that Andrew is, willing to supply stuff, then
So
who knows?
Maybe enough time has passed, or there were enough zeros to the check that he's like,
yeah.
I'll talk.
I mean, I would hope that it's that he's there's still not a grudge held there, especially considering George Michael's no longer with us, so it's not like he's around to like apologize or anything.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess we'll wait and see when that documentary drops. And then this is going to be a docu-series, so we'll have multiple parts to it. But for you sports ball fans out there, or you're just like me, you just really like documentaries. There's a docu-series that Netflix will be releasing called Quarterback. That follows Kirk Cousins, who's the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings.
Cool.
Marcus Mariota, who's quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, and Patrick Mahomes, who is the reigning Super Bowl, quarterback of the reigning Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. So, but it's going to follow all three of them through the last year's football season. So they were mic'd up for all sorts of both on the field and off.
And
so you get to see what the life is like for a NFL quarterback.
And Netflix, wise choice of not going with Tom Brady.
Right?
I'm sure Tom Brady would have wanted way too much money anyway.
True. Yeah.
Like, I know Netflix has got money, but
not that kind of money.
Not that kind of money. So, but that's perfectly fine with me because I don't care about Tom Brady anyway. So
I would have probably fast forwarded through all that.
Yeah.
Honestly, same.
Yeah. So, and I know Mahomes is like, he's really popular, not just as a football player, but as a person.
Yeah.
As well. So, should be interesting. And then Disney has given us our first look at Elio, which is a upcoming animated feature film that will be released next year, where a young boy named Elio gets essentially abducted by aliens because they've mistaken him as the leader of Earth.
Interesting.
Shenanigans will ensue. So it looks cute. It looks really cute. So, and it's very interesting to the little bit we see with the aliens, just how like not understanding how life on Earth actually works. Because they're like, they first abduct him and they're like, please state the name of your planet. And he's like, Earth. And then from there on out, they refer to Earth as Earth, not just Earth. It's Earth. It could be fun. So that is that. And we got quite a bit of feedback. So first up from Shalane. She says, this is the full feedback from last week. It didn't go through, so here you go. Hey, happy 9th anniversary. Yeah, you're back with the currently episode. It's been a long time since you girls did this. Yes, it had been.
Uh-huh.
Here's what I've been doing. Watching every or most Disney movies to celebrate 100 years. I'm doing the animation in order this month's post-Renaissance films like The Emperor's New Groove and Lilo and Stitch. Good. Both of those are good, especially Emperor's New Groove.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Reading the Disney Twisted Tales books still. A couple of Warner Brothers movies because they are celebrating 100 years also. Also, I've been watching Home Improvement and The Masked Singer and the Disney Channel shows I loved growing up with. Also planning some road trips this summer to go see some musicals down south because down south they have a great theater company that gets great shows. That's awesome.
Yes, very
I've
awesome.
also been listening to Tina Turner since she passed away. I've started to become a Tina Turner fan since I listened to the song "You're Simply the Best," which if you're a Schitt's Creek fan,
Yep.
that song has significance.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Also, the theater company I worked at last summer, we did Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and we also made the Pharaoh that was supposed to be Elvis style into Tina Turner style.
Nice. Quite the feat there.
Yeah. It's just going back to the Masked Singer. The boy who was the macaw and the runner-up. He was our Joseph at the theater that she worked at last summer. She grew up in Utah. She sent me a picture.
Cool.
Actually, the two of them together.
Awesome.
So, she said, plus I ever wondered if Melissa Joan Hart would appear in The Masked Singer, and I was right. Yeah, it's like, it's one of those things that's like, is it making me old that some of the people I grew up with are now being put on shows like this?
What makes me feel old is when they put someone on that's like young and like I have no idea who this person is.
That too.
Yeah.
That too.
Or you're scrolling the Facebook feed. These songs are turning this how many years old this year, and it's like,
like nope.
Thanks for the reminder, but no.
Yep. Nope. Oh, I'm taking the route of Portal, and the cake is a lie.
Yes. I feel younger than what my age actually states on my ID, but sometimes my body says, ha ha.
Yeah. Also, I did go see the new Little Mermaid, and it was amazing. Halle Bailey did a great job as Ariel. It's good. The following week, I saw Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and it was amazing and epic. So watch out, Super Mario Bros. No offense, I still love you. I haven't seen Across the Spider-Verse yet. I have not had time to go to the movie theater, and it's like,
Same, like I heard it's so good. I'm trying to avoid spoilers. Just not.
She says, on Paramount Plus, I watched some of my favorite Nickelodeon shows I love growing up with, and Grease: Rise of the Pink Ladies. Yeah, when we first got Paramount Plus, one of the first things I watched was the Blue's Clues special, Blues Adventure New York, where they brought Steve back. So, yeah. Then she follows up from last week's episode. It's the only movie and TV shows I've seen Mark Hamill in are Star Wars, Mandalorian, The Muppet Show, Big Bang Theory, the animated Batman, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Scooby-Doo animated movie, and other cartoons. As I didn't know he was a voice actor growing up with Star Wars and cartoons, I just thought he was just an actor for Star Wars. I think that surprises a lot of people.
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, I think everybody's in that same kind of boat, because usually Mark Hamill, the first thing you get introduced to him is Luke Skywalker, and then you find the other stuff.
Yeah.
And I had to chuckle the day after we recorded that. I open up Tumblr, and what is it? My first Tumblr is Mark Hamill in one of his TV appearances, and it might have been The Partridge Family. I'm just like, hey, perfect.
Yeah. That was really
Tumblr,
wild to see, because you sent me that, and I was like,
yeah.
he looks so young.
The baby face.
Yes.
I'm just like, Tumblr, were you listening?
I think they were. I think they were. She says, but he has voiced a lot of villains. Yes, he has. Fun fact, a couple of OG Star Wars actors have also appeared in The Big Bang Theory, like James Earl Jones. Yes, that was actually a very fun episode where he and Sheldon spent the entire day together, just acting like a couple of buddies and not doing like the worshiping, oh my god, you're Darth Vader thing. And then also Carrie Fisher. They've had several cameos throughout the years of The Big Bang Theory. Stan Lee has also made a cameo on The Big Bang Theory until he had to issue that restraining order against Sheldon. So the only Christopher Eccleston thing I've seen is Thor: The Dark World. And then we have some feedback from Aaron. The subject line said, Luke Skywalker and the Doctor. But hello, Fiveish hosts. I had to play catch up this week and listen to your last 2 episodes back to back. I am so sorry, Aaron. It was fun to hear the media you all were consuming. Since I have a lot of time to listen to books at work, I'm looking into some of your book choices, so that's good. Honor of Pride Month, there's a book I'd like to recommend. They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. It takes place in an alternate reality where each morning a company known as Deathcast calls everyone who's going to die that day, letting them know. The book follows 2 young men who receive the call and how they spend their last day together. Not sure how I found the book, but I've listened to it several times since. That does sound interesting. I have to check that out. As for your mystery actors, Mark Hamill is a treasure. Obviously, I know him from Star Wars and his voice as the Joker. However, did you know he was the second choice for the Joker? Tim Curry was cast and recorded a few episodes. You mentioned Tim Curry, I get excited. But exited the role due to the strain on his voice. The most recent performance of his that I loved is voicing Chucky in the Child's Play remake. I forgot that he did Chucky. Mark did. As a fan of Chucky, I actually enjoyed the new twist of the remake, and Hamill was an amazing choice. Christopher Eccleston, I got familiar with your Doctor Who, but I first saw him in the Gone in 60 Seconds remake. I didn't think much about him at the time, but can I really expect much from a Nick Cage movie?
Valid point.
Take care, Aaron. Oh, poor Nicolas Cage. Not really, but yeah.
I mean, not wrong.
Yeah, he's not wrong. So, sad thing is, I'm pretty sure I've seen Gone in 60 Seconds, and I don't remember Chris being.
I think, if I remember correctly, I rewatched it a couple years back. It's a real kind of blink and you miss.
Okay,
he's there for a little bit, for a few minutes, and then he's gone. And if I remember correctly, I think he had like peroxide bleach blonde hair too.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of, if you don't know who or what you're looking for, it kind of.
Yeah, that would do it. Would
Yeah,
do
'cause
it.
I'm pretty sure I saw Gone in 60 Seconds before I got into Doctor Who. So I would not. I've been like that's just
Same.
some random guy.
Yeah, I would say I know I
Yeah.
definitely saw 28 Days Later before I ever watched Doctor Who, and I remember seeing him. I remember him in that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. So, oh well, thank you both, Shalane and Aaron, for your feedback. So, moving on to my recap of my adventures in Louisville for the first ever PopCon down there. And it was a thing. It was a thing. Okay, here's the thing. I heard this a lot from people I talked to that were locals. Although there were a lot of people that are fans of PopCon in general that drove down to come to this one. Even though they didn't necessarily have to, they could have waited till Indy, which would have been closer. But it was nice to see some of the PopCon regulars, put in the effort to come down, even if it was just for a day, to support it. Because if that's how these things survive. But not just Kentucky, but kind of that weird part of the Midwest where like Indiana and Kentucky and Ohio kind of meet. Does not have necessarily a very thriving like geek / Comic-Con type event culture. Louisville has not hosted anything since the last time GalaxyCon was there. Speaking of which was late November 2019, which is the con I went to and met Christopher Eccleston at. For whatever reason, GalaxyCon pulled out after that one and have not been back since. And the thing is, the actual like proper convention center, which is downtown Louisville and near the river, is a very nice facility. It's quite large. It's fairly new. It's very spacious. It's got a lot of amenities. So it's very easy to navigate and find parking nearby because I only went down for the one day, that time. But like the Louisville and kind of surrounding area ever since, granted we did have a pandemic, have not had anything kind of fan related since. Now you can go over to Lexington, obviously, and go to Lexington Toy and Comic Expo, which you're talking another hour and a half drive, if you're in the Louisville area. Maybe even 2 hours. I get, depends on traffic and all that, I'm sure. And you've got Cincinnati. They've got, the Cincinnati Comic Expo, which I've been to and am hopefully planning on going to again this September because they've got several guests and I'm like, oh yes, please. Because that was the convention that Chauncey and I went to. We met Stan Lee. So, so it's like, it's not, you've got options if you live in this area. But unfortunately, the city of Louisville, while the university is a great thing to have, and obviously the Kentucky Derby, Churchill Downs is right there. But beyond that, the city itself is not necessarily thriving economically. And so it kind of needs a little kick in the pants to have something for at least some of the community to get excited about and spend money and inject that into the local economy. So I don't know why PopCon chose the Expo Center instead of the Convention Center. I'm sure it came down to availability and pricing, I'm sure, more than anything. Now the Expo Center is the Kentucky State Fairgrounds. So it's large. It's very, very large. So there's plenty of space. It's not necessarily as new and shiny as the convention center, but it wasn't anything, horribly run down. So the bathrooms, at least in the vendor hall, could use some updating. But it is what it is. The upstairs was really nice. The bathrooms were really nice on the upstairs too. So go figure. But the thing is, with it being their fairgrounds, geographically, if you look at it from the top down, you have the Expo Center and the fairgrounds. There's a large section that's horse barn and the type of barns you would use for your cattle, your 4-H type stuff. Then you have the huge building that is Expo Center, which is labeled by the whatever wing it is that you're in. In this case, this PopCon was in the south wing. But the road is just one big circle that goes around it and only goes one way. So unfortunately, depending on which gate you go into the park, you may have to drive like all the way around to get to near the part of the building you actually need. But then there's also a theme park, an amusement park attached to it with Kentucky Kingdom.
Dang.
So, which used to be a Six Flags. Six Flags is no longer part of the Six Flags family of theme parks, but now it's just Kentucky. It's the Kentucky Kingdom and the water park, which was open for business. I could see the Ferris wheel from the highway before I even actually got off the interstate, and was like, no, thank you. Even though I wasn't going to go anywhere near it. I hate Ferris wheels. So even at a distance, I'm like, no, absolutely not. And even seeing like the roller coasters and hearing the screaming from the people, I'm like, 20 years ago, absolutely. I would have been right there with you, riding all the coasters, but now not so much. So because of that, there are no hotels directly connected to the Expo Center, or even within the boundaries of the grounds. So even the closest hotels are outside of where you would have to go through to park your car. Now I did see shuttle buses for a couple of the close hotels come and drop people off and pick them up. So that's great. That didn't help me any. Granted, my hotel didn't offer that anyway, but it wouldn't help me any because I had a cart full of crap that I had to take in every day. So it was just much easier just to use my own vehicle. So we're a bit spoiled here in Indianapolis and in some other places, like Columbus. When I went to Columbus last December for GalaxyCon, and was able to stay in a hotel that is directly connected via enclosed walkway to the convention center. Indianapolis is the same way. We've got a number of hotels that are directly connected to either the convention center or the mall, which itself is connected to the convention center via a parking garage that you can walk through. So we're definitely spoiled when it comes to having that direct access without ever having to go outside and worry about traffic and parking and blah 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 blah. But it is what it is. I've also been to plenty of conventions where I had to drive in, pay to park, and walk at least a little bit. It's not the end of the world. At least not for me. Obviously, if you've got mobility issues or stuff like that, obviously that's going to be a concern. But for me, it's a first world problem. darn, I have to go outside and breathe fresh air for a couple minutes to go from my car to inside.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a thing. Maybe with time, if the city can maybe, get back on its feet a little better financially, and they see some improvement, that maybe at some point somebody's gonna be like, you know what, maybe we should build a hotel within the grounds.
Yes. Make it easier for our people who want to have an overnight trip a little closer to the park.
Yeah. Well, and
everybody.
if you were going to the amusement park, it does share the entrance to all the parking. You use the same gates regardless of whether you're going to the expo center or the amusement park.
Okay.
So
Well,
at least
good.
the gates that I went through. Now there are gates that are closer to the amusement park side, and I'm sure there's parking over there. I had no need to go over there, so
right.
But yeah, I would think that maybe building a hotel within the grounds might not be a bad idea.
Let's make this a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, but I'm playing with pretend money that's not mine, so
true.
I can say that for as much as I want, because it's not actually going to do anything.
Right.
Because at the fairgrounds, the people that come to the fair that stay for an extended period, your 4-H kids, they're showing off their animals or whatever, they tend to come in RVs and campers and stuff like that. At least that's the case at my state fairground, so I would imagine it's very similar for them. That they've got some wide, they got some areas where the folks just show up with their trailer with their horses or their pigs or whatever, and their pop-up camper, and that's what they do for the week or however long their state fair runs for. Because they want to be they got to be near the animals and stuff that they're caring for, so that's understandable. So Chauncey and I stayed at the Staybridge, which, without any sort of traffic delays, I could get from the parking lot of our hotel and parked at the expo center within like 10 minutes.
Wow.
So it's not bad. It wasn't bad. Staybridge is part of the big family of hotel chains that includes like the Holiday Inns and stuff like that. So, and we get loyalty points for stuff like that. And they offered a free hot breakfast, which was my biggest thing, because like if I could start my day off with a decent breakfast, then I'm good. So Chauncey doesn't care so much because he's not a breakfast guy, but me, I was like, I can get up, get whatever it is they're offering, and get a decent meal to start the day off, and everything after that is gravy. And it was literally gravy because they offered biscuits and gravy every single morning. So
nice. If you're a biscuits and gravy fan,
I had some combination of biscuits and gravy, scrambled eggs. They had these breakfast potatoes that were my god, so good. And
sounds
juice,
like my kind of breakfast.
Yeah, and juice and usually yogurt, so gotta keep regular. So yeah, that was always good to start the day off right. And then I always made a plate for Chauncey and just stuck it in the fridge on our room. Like, here you go, here's brunch for when you wake up. Eat
later.
Yeah. For you, it will be brunch, but whatever works. So we both drove down last Thursday morning, or actually it was afternoon. Chauncey and I drove separate because the company he works for has an office in Louisville, so it was technically, at least part of it was a work trip for him, a proper work trip. So, but he needed to be able to go to the office and I needed to be able to go to the expo center. So we drove separate cars. So he went straight to the office. I went straight to the expo center, got checked in, got the vendor badges, and unloaded the car with all the stuff and set the table up. And was able to do that within a couple hours. So they were the poor folks that run these things. You know, I've done enough of these and know enough people that run them to know that, you know, you can try to plan for every instance, but something is always bound to not go right. So in this case, they accidentally grabbed a load of tablecloths that weren't clean.
Uh-oh.
So then somebody had to go back to Indy to get the proper tablecloths. So not all the vendor tables had tablecloths right away. I never actually got a vendor chair, like the chairs allotted for my table. But it just so happened that John Graham of who's a friend of mine, he does a lot of the kids programming for PopCon. He had an excess of chairs in the kids area, so he's like, just take one of mine. I'm like, okay, cool. So I just ended up letting him know. They had set up a Discord for PopCon this year, which was really helpful and really good to have on my phone. So we, you know, people were able to message and be like, you know, which gate do I need to go in that's closest to where we need to be, or what time, you know, how late can I get there and still get my badge and that sort of thing. So at first I was like, I don't have chairs, but I know other, you know, there are some other people that are like, I don't have chairs and, you know, I've got mobility problems and really need to be able to sit down. So I was like, I don't have chairs, but get them to the people who need them first, because it wasn't, you know, wasn't any skin off my teeth at that point, whether I had a chair or not. And then John gave me one of his chairs, so then I was like, I got a chair, I'm fine. So they didn't have to worry about me. So, but yeah, I got the table all sent up. 4 trips to the car later, I got the table set up because I kept forgetting stuff. It should have only taken 2 because I didn't have enough space in my wagon to get everything in one trip. But after the second trip, I realized I kept forgetting stuff. So then I needed 2 additional trips to the car. So
Those things happen.
4 trips to the car later, I was getting my steps in. Because I sure as heck weren't going to be doing that much walking once the convention started, because I would be at the table. So I was like, yeah, it's okay. I'm getting my steps in. It's all good. And so, you know, so I went back to the hotel and crashed because it had been a long day, because I'd been up really early getting stuff done, and then I still had to work my day job before I could leave. So it had been a long day. So yeah, Chauncey ordered pizza, so we got to try some local pizza, which is one of our things that we almost always do when we travel, is we try the local pizza. It was pretty good. And then I was out cold. I was up Friday, got breakfast, and then got myself ready and got to the expo center, and, you know, did the final touch-ups on the table, and then the vendor hall opened 30 minutes early for VIP badge holders, and then it was open to everyone a half an hour after that. Friday was, you know, not terribly busy. You know, it is summer, but, you know, a lot of people still have to work on Fridays. So that was not too surprising that it wasn't too terribly busy that Friday. I use that fact to get the 2 autographs that I wanted to get. So I did not do any of the I did not do any of the photo ops. But I did get the 2 autographs that I wanted. So I got Richard Horvitz on my Power Rangers movie poster. So see, he is Alpha 5 among others. There's been several incarnations of Alpha. Alpha's evolved since the Power Rangers started 30 years ago. So I was able to get his autograph, which was fun. So we were joking about the fact that it was like, because he saw all the other autographs, and I was like, hey, and yours. And then Paul Frees, who played Ivan Ooze, is going to be at Cincinnati in September.
Nice.
So I was like, I can get Paul Frees, and I need to, I need to get, Bulk and Skull at some point. Rita Repulsa, I have to get hers at some point. Unfortunately, I cannot get Brain Fart. I'm so tired.
Jason?
No, Rita, the other one, Rita's husband. I can see the character. I just can't think of the name. Red, all muscly. Looks like his skin's been peeled off.
Yeah, I know who that is. Oh my goodness!
My brain stopped working at like 10 o'clock last night.
Power Ranger fans.
Yes. I'm a fan. I'm just also old and tired, and my brain.
Doesn't it start with a Z?
Lord Zed. There we go. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I would get there eventually. It's not Zordon.
No.
No. So yeah, no. Lord Zed. Unfortunately, I cannot get his autograph, or at least the guy who voices Lord Zed, because Robert Axelrod passed away a couple years ago. So, yeah. Anyway, now that my gerbil's back on the wheel,
corrected it.
Yes. So I was able. I got his autograph on my poster. And then I got Ross Marquand, who actually is several Marvel characters that may or may not be canon, depending on how you look at it, because obviously he was, as we discussed last week, he took over for Red Skull after Hugo Weaving was like, no, I'm not doing all that makeup again for Infinity War and Endgame. And then he also does Red Skull and Ultron and some of the Ultron bots in What If. And then some of the Ultron sentries in Multiverse of Madness. So he's got in several spots in the MCU. So but he was nice to meet as well, and he signed my Marvel thing. So that was cool. So I got those autographs out of the way, and I was like, okay, good. Got that taken care of. So I mean, I could have gotten more, but I had to prioritize, especially considering the guest list that is coming for PopCon Indy. So I need to save my pennies between now and the end of August. So yeah, Friday was pretty chill, literally and figuratively, because I found out really quickly that inside the vendor hall it was freezing. To me, it was absolutely freezing. I was sitting there with like the duff door on my lap, thinking that there's some way he was going to help keep me warm.
Like, come on, Duster, unteddy, come on, be the warm bear that I know you are.
Yeah, like I was so cold. It was I mean, I already run cold as it is. You know, if we're not newlyweds by any means, but if Shanti and I were ever to end up on something like the Newlywed Game and they were to ask like what's the what is something that we disagree on in our marriage, the only answer would be the thermostat. So especially in the summertime. Especially in the summertime. So because I run cold, he runs warm. So it's a constant struggle. So yeah, it was cold. And that made things slightly unpleasant, honestly. So by the time the vendor hall closed, I'm like, I am going back to the hotel and warming up and getting something to eat and calling it a night, because I wanted to stay because they were doing a drag show as that evening's entertainment, but I was like, I'm tired and I'm cold and I'm hungry, so I was like, I'm sorry. I must leave. And then Saturday, of course, with these things, Saturdays are always the biggest and busiest days. And that is the day that I saw a lot of people. Some that had come down just for the day. Sean from the Caption Life came down with one of his kids. So they did their Kingpin and Spider-Man cosplay together, which was fun. Saturday was also my first panel, which was Name That Geeky Tune. I was really concerned that hardly, like, if anybody was going to show up, because Name That Geeky Tune had been scheduled at the same time as Twisted Tunes.
Oh no. Whoopsies.
Granted, I had no control over that, but still.
Yeah.
It's like, if you know anything about Twisted Tunes, it is a hot ticket
commodity.
Metaphorically. It is a hot commodity on any convention schedule. So I even had a friend that at first had told me he was going to come to Name That Geeky Tune, and then realized that Twisted Tunes at the same time. And he's like, I'm so sorry, I'm going to go to Twisted Tunes instead. I'm like, that is okay. I would go to Twisted Tunes instead if I had a choice. So although I guess I didn't really miss, I mean, Twisted Tunes is always fun, but he told me after the fact that they only had 3 voiceover artists for it. I don't know why they only had 3. And they didn't do a specific movie, they did scenes out of several different movies instead. So they did like the opening scene of The Godfather, and then did like the cheeseburger Royale with cheese conversation in the car from Pulp Fiction. So, among other things. So it doesn't, after last year's Twisted Tunes at Indy with, the cast that was, Maurice LaMarche and Rob Paulson and Billy, what's his face, from Futurama, I can never think of his last name, and there's Maurice and Paul and Billy and Jim Cummings. Was there another one? Maybe it was just those. Anyway, but that's a stacked cast.
Yes.
So,
Very.
and they did Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which is a really good choice. So, last year's Twisted Tunes was so good that I think I almost probably would have been a little disappointed if I actually had been able to go. So in the end, it wasn't that big a deal. And I actually did have a decent turnout for the panel. I probably ended up with a couple dozen people.
Nice.
And actually one of the PopCon staff that came in to help me with getting my laptop set up so I could get sound out of it and working with the projector. I saw her after in the vendor hall. She walked by my table and she asked me how it went, if I had any technical difficulties or anything. I was like, no, it went really well. She's like, you had the best turnout of any panel I had seen so far this weekend. It wasn't a celebrity panel.
Wow.
So apparently panels are not being that heavily attended if it didn't involve a celebrity. But I had fun. I still had some technical difficulties, but that wasn't their problem. It was the fact that I built the whole thing in PowerPoint, and that's not necessarily the best software program for something like this, but it's what I know. So I made it work, and the audience didn't seem to care. They got some amusement out of me getting a little flustered. I got the three. We did to get the three contestants. We played a game of hot potato.
Oh, nice.
So I it was like hot potato / musical chairs. So I got like a Nerf type football for them to toss around the room, and then when the music stopped, whoever had it got to play. Which I don't know what I was thinking, asking a room full of nerds to do something physical. What I was thinking. But we got our three contestants. And we played. I did 3 rounds, 10 clips each. Each round was themed. So the first round was cartoons. So every clip was from something animated. And then the second round was space and time. So it could be from IP that involved either space travel and or time travel. So that, and then the last round was nothing but Danny Elfman clips from his I was like, well, it's not like he's got like 100+ credits to his name as a film composer. So, it should be real easy. So I almost had to take away some street cred cards. Some from some folks. Especially considering with some of them, I specifically would pick certain pieces of music because they had a connection to either a past, current, or future PopCon guest.
Ooh, nice.
So it was like, if you know your PopCon guests, you got potentially a little leg up there. So for some people that helped. And I also tried to make it some that were like really easy and very obvious. Like, I'm pretty sure at this point, unless you've been living under a rock, you will recognize the theme to The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So,
given.
Yeah. But then there were some that people didn't necessarily get. So, like, apparently not as many people, they may have watched the show but weren't paying attention during the opening credits, and not nobody recognized the theme to Star Trek Picard.
Really?
Yeah. Nobody got that one.
Wow.
So, oh well. But at the end, every contestant did at least get one right, so nobody was
Yay.
completely shut out. But of the 30 clips I had combined between the 3 contestants, they only got 13
Wow.
out of 30. So, and I'm the audience probably got the same amount, very similar. So close to, in between the audience and the 3 contestants, they got a good majority of them at least. Which is good. So I handed out Marvel fruit snacks to the audience members when they got them right, which again, nerd, why am I trying to throw stuff? Why do I insist on physical exertment when it's a nerdy thing is beyond me.
Did somebody wind up stealing some of your fruit snacks?
No, but just so there's a lot of I would miss the person by several feet. They'd have to get up and go over and get it. So
gotcha.
Or the person in front of them would catch it. Okay. So they just have to turn and hand it to the person.
Gotcha. Well, why I was asking is I was scrolling through my Facebook feed and I saw you made a comment on one of Brandon's posts. It's like, wait a minute, you had snacks?
Yeah.
You got snacks?
I had some left over. I had a few left over that it didn't get handed out. And I wandered over to the because my panel didn't end up taking up its entire time allotment. So I had a little bit of time before I was kind of really expected back at my table. So I wandered out to where the podcast stage was, which Brandon had been running all weekend. It had happened that KJ was out there with Jonah and Patrick, and they were doing the KJ Today show essentially in live podcast format. But then when they got done, Brandon was going to do an episode of the Brandon Peters show with Patrick and one of the guys from the Normies. And I think it was a guy from the Normies said something, or Brandon asked him if he needed anything like water or something. And the guy from the Normies, unfortunately I can't remember his name, was like, yeah, no, some water would be nice, a little something pick me up. And I was like, well, here, I'll supply you with a little bit of a sugar rush. And I gave there were 3 of them. I had 3 things of fruit snacks left. So I'm like, here you go, have some fruit snacks. So,
nice.
So, I was still kind of playing booth mom in a way. And
once a booth mom, always a booth mom.
It went greatly underappreciated in Brandon's case, which just pulling my chain.
No snacks for you next year.
Yep. You think you're getting anything from me come this August? Think again, mister. Put you in booth mom timeout.
Do not anger the booth mom. Rule number 1. Rule number 2. See rule number 1.
Exactly. So yeah, and then I went back to the table and hung out there until the day was done, and then I went and watched the cosplay contest, which is always exciting. Some very good, well done cosplays. So that was quite entertaining, as it always is. So of course, me being me, some cosplay. When it comes to cosplay, at this point, it's like, if I don't recognize it, my automatic default is, I don't know what that is, so it's either from a video game or it's anime. So, because I at least recognize a lot of stuff, even if I don't necessarily watch it. But a lot of the anime stuff, I know that it's anime. I just have no idea what it is. But like anime, it's a lot of anime has a very distinct look to it. So when you see someone cosplaying something that's from an anime, you just can kind of tell, even if you don't necessarily know what it is. Although there are some that I do recognize, because they're a bit more mainstream. Like, I'm gonna recognize one of the Sailor Scouts when when I see one. Pokemon, obviously. I recognize not just Ash, but Team Rockets and some of the other Pokemon trainers and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of the anime. Kudos to the guy who was the MC, who is cosplaying himself as Beetlejuice, which was really cool.
Oh, nice.
He did a really good job too. But kudos to him for being able to pronounce, as far as I could tell, correctly the names of these characters and the animes they were from as the contestants came up onto the stage. He'd be like, and now contestant, Susie, whatever, cosplaying, I have no idea, from something very long and Japanese sounding, So, kudos to him for being able to do that. I guess that's why they had him be the MC. So, but that was fun. To see all the cosplayers, and the stuff they've done. There's some really, really good cosplays out there. And I went back to I got dinner. I picked up dinner. There was a restaurant. There's a restaurant that is on the corner of the street that feeds essentially into gate 4 of the expo grounds. And this must be a Louisville thing or a Kentucky thing, this restaurant chain. Apparently they've got a few of them, but it's one building, but it's 2 restaurants in the same building. So when you walk in, there's the one hostess table or, counter or whatever. And you walk up to tell them, how many people are in your party that, need seating. And they're like, Mexican or Italian? Because there's both a Mexican restaurant and Italian restaurant in this building.
Interesting.
It is very interesting.
Interesting combination.
Yeah. I was like, well, what do you do if somebody really wants both? Yeah.
Fusion. I don't know if Italian Mexican has had a fusion yet.
I would like some fettuccine Alfredo with a chimichanga on the side. And can you turn a peach Bellini into a margarita?
Ooh, hey, I like the way you think. I like the way you think.
Yeah. So I just ordered the Italian and I ordered it to go so I could take it back to the hotel room and not have to deal with waiting for seating and all that stuff. And I could also, eat my dinner in peace where I had control over the thermostat, because
that too.
Again, I was cold. I did wear pants on Saturday. Thankfully I was smart and grabbed a pair and threw it in the suitcase as almost an afterthought, because I had packed skirts mostly. And that's what I wore on Friday, and that's why my legs were cold. I was like, so I wore pants on Saturday, but it was still kind of cold. Not as cold, but a lot of that had to do with the fact that I was getting up and walking to like the panel room and back, and there were more people. So that helps the extra bodies and therefore body heat. But Chauncey had worked Saturday morning, and he spent Saturday afternoon. He went to one of the state parks or something, and he went fishing. Not really. because he wasn't trying to catch anything. He was just kind of out chilling, enjoying nature and the peace and quiet. And then he went to it wasn't demolition derby, but it was auto racing in the mud. So
cool. Mudding almost, but
yeah. So he went
NASCAR.
yeah, so he went and did that Saturday evening. So so yeah. And I got my stuff tidied up and together so it'd be easier Sunday morning. So Sunday morning I was just able to get up and get breakfast and then get all my stuff to, grab my last minute toiletries that I'd used that morning and throw them in suitcase and lug everything down to the car, because then Chauncey would be the one to check us out of the hotel once he got up. So, and then I went back to the expo center and did day 3, which was slower than had been the day before. I did I did some wandering a couple of times. I'd had this idea when I was cleaning up when I got back to the hotel Saturday evening. Because obviously, I had my little signs and the business cards for Fiveish Fangirls and Gold Standard for people to grab. I had my little setup of, it's supposed to be a planter that my mom got me for my birthday that's shaped like a corgi. I don't do plants, but I was like, I could still use this. So I used it to hold all the stickers that I had accumulated that I was now had out on the table for like kids when they walk by. If a little kid, they would see it and they'd see the stickers and then they would be like, "Ooh, stickers," and I'd like, "Go ahead, take some, please." I've amassed a large collection of stickers and I only have so many surfaces I can attach these to, so please take some. But the corgi, was the container for those. So, and then I had my upcycled greeting cards out for people to peruse. I played with how they are arranged in the box a few times. So, because I'd have people that would ask for something specific. And in some cases I did have something that they were looking for. In some cases I didn't. So, but we did get a couple that found new homes. So that's good. I may have given away a few as additional additions to the prizes for Name That Geeky Tune. But the raffle, which I got this basket that was like just the right size to hold everything. I got it at Goodwill, so it was really cheap. And I had it on the table and I had it all arranged with all the stuff, and there was Grogu sitting on top of it looking adorable, and very eye-catching. And I had a sign, for what it was, win this, and how they could get tickets to try and win. I had all the legalese on the back if anybody really cared about reading legalese. But I wasn't having much luck at people entering the raffle.
Yeah,
So
that's too bad.
Yeah. So, and part of it, I realized when I was thinking about it while I was eating my dinner Saturday night, I was like, I do people watching, sitting there at the table or standing at the table, and I would see some of the same people walk by multiple times, which, that's fine. But I realized that probably 90% of the people that I would see walk by were fans. They either had, the badge on or the single day wristband on or whatever. I was like, you know what? while they're walking around being able to see all the stuff, the vendors are probably like me and stuck at their table and aren't getting a chance to walk around.
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
So I decided that Sunday morning, once stuff picked up a little bit, at least the doors were open, so people were coming in. It's like, I'm going to take this basket. I'm just going to walk around with it and
Good
see if I
idea.
could, see if I can get any nibbles. And I did.
Yay!
I got some nibbles. So because
Awesome.
I had this basket full of things, and I had my roll of raffle tickets, and people would be like, "Oh, what you got there?" And I'd be like, "Let me tell you."
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I got here. So
take a look at what I got in my box, in my bag, in my basket.
Yep. Felt a little bit like Arya Stark with her thing of cockerels. So yeah, I got a few nibbles that way. I even got an additional prize added to the gift basket. So,
wow, nice.
Because KJ contributed a pack of vinyl stickers that because she had a whole bunch of sticker packs from Conquest Journals, who is the official sponsor of the KJ Today Show.
Nice.
So KJ was like, "Here, you want some stickers?" I was like, "Add them to the basket." So that was good.
Yes.
So yeah, I got some more nibbles with the raffle. And then I had my other panel, your local library, more than just books.
Yes.
Essentially a panel about the power of libraries.
Yes.
Which this was my first time actually presenting this panel, so this was a nice first run. It was kind of a blessing that I didn't have a lot of people in the panel room. So but at the same time, the few that I had were very kind and enjoyed it. So that's good. And I got some constructive feedback on things I could tweak. And even I realized as I was presenting it, because before I had just been like researching and throwing stuff into PowerPoint and writing notes, but when you're actually presenting it and like speaking it out loud, you realize that maybe there's some spots where stuff isn't necessarily flowing the best. So I even noticed there's some spots where I should make some tweaks, and then I got some constructive feedback for some other tweaks. So I will work on that between now and in conjunction in a couple weeks. So that's good. Yeah. So and I did a little wandering around, a little bit of shopping. I didn't necessarily need to buy anything. I did end up buying some jewelry from one vendor who had all sorts of stuff for sale. But I got a couple pairs of earrings and this wild, very blingy, sparkly skeleton hand hair clip.
Nice.
So since I chopped all my hair off, I have no need for hair ties or scrunchies and things like that. So, but a good barrette or hair clip would not go amiss, because it is long enough to use stuff like that. So and it's really cool like skull ring that I'll probably wear when we go see Metallica later this year. So
nice.
And then this other vendor where she hand makes her jewelry, and she had corgi earrings, so of course I had to buy those.
Cool.
So and then my only
like
other
doctor when it comes to that, you can't walk by anything corgi without picking it up.
Yeah,
just
it's like a fez. If I was the doctor and a corgi was a fez, it'd be exactly the same. Yep. I'm easy to please. Give me corgi and call it a day. So my only other purchase that wasn't food because I did buy the Moonshine Chocolate Company, who I've encountered. They were at PopCon last year in Indy, and I've seen them at one other convention. I can't remember which one. But they've since the last time I've seen them, they've expanded their offerings, because before they are offering like these truffles, but instead of them being like bonbon shaped, theirs are like little sticks, kind of like if you took the individual stick off like a Kit Kat. But they're different flavors. Some very obvious, like what you'd expect with chocolates, like a cherry or cookies and cream, but then they have some wild ones. They had one that's got like cayenne pepper in it. No, thank you. And then they've always had fudge as well. But their flavors for both have been greatly expanded. And then they also had different chocolate coated goodies as well, like your chocolate covered raisins, like you got your turtles, which are pecans held together essentially with caramel and chocolate. But they had these chocolate covered blueberries, but the chocolate was also blueberry flavored.
Oh, that sounds really good.
Oh my god, they were so good. They were so, I can't believe that the quantity that I got actually survived to Sunday of the convention, considering I bought it Friday, like as soon as the convention was open Friday afternoon. I'm surprised that they lasted till Sunday, probably because I also had fudge to bounce to as well, which the fudge was really good too, because I got some cookies and cream. So it was cream with bits of Oreo in it. It was really good. And then they had red velvet, which was also really good. So I was like, yeah. But oh my god, those blueberries. Oh my. Dangerous. Dangerous, I tell you. And I know they've got an online store, so I will make sure to link them in the show notes. Really, you can't go wrong with anything you buy from them. It just kind of depends on what your particular inclination is when it comes to sweets. So, because I've also had the truffles. I got the truffles the first time I saw them, and those were really good. And fudge. So I've also gotten the fudge, other flavors of the fudge. They've got one that's salted caramel. Goodness. So yeah. So besides that, and here's something that makes not just any PopCon, but any convention at the Indianapolis Convention Center different than this event at this particular venue. Because we're in the South, specifically Kentucky, I don't know if this is a case for all events that are held at the Expo Center, but at least with PopCon Louisville, you could buy booze. There were bars. There were bars, several bars set up throughout the Expo Center that you could do cocktails and various beers. Of course, I'm sure cocktails using Kentucky made bourbon, I'm sure. But then there was also a vendor that was doing adult smoothies and margaritas and spiked lemonade. So, by Saturday afternoon, I was like, I will take some lemonade with vodka in it, please. And after that, I didn't care if it was cold and my feet hurt. So this is definitely quite interesting to see people walking around, like looking at Funko Pops while they've got like a Miller Lite in one hand. Or other,
to the hold my beer.
Yeah, or other beverages. So I don't know if that made it better or worse as far as people spending money. But all I know is I finished that, and I was feeling much better about the temperature inside and the condition of my joints at the moment. And I was not drunk by any means. I was just more chill. And by the time it was time to go, I was completely sober. So it also helped that I had the blueberries and the fudge and all the other snacks I brought with me as well. So yeah, the only other thing besides the jewelry and the chocolate and the booze and some of the chocolates that they sell actually has booze in it. But I did not partake of. Well, he did give me a sample of one of their bourbon chocolate covered cherries, which was still really good, but oh my god, the blueberries. But so the only other thing that I spent money on that I didn't necessarily plan on, but it was such a good deal that I really couldn't pass it up, is since PopCon is going into their 10th year, obviously they have amassed quite a bit of signage and, all sorts of stuff like that. Specifically the giant vinyl banners that will hang behind the celebrities' table in the autograph area.
Yes. What did you pick up?
I may have picked up Henry Simmons' sign from the year he was at PopCon.
Nice.
And it may or may not be signed by Henry.
Nice.
So, yeah. And the fact that it has Natalia also on there, even though she ended up having to cancel.
Nice.
But it's, it's got a picture of him. And then there's also a picture of him and Yo-Yo from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on there. And Max got his shotgun axe strapped to his back. So I was like, yeah, I'll take that.
Cool. Mine, please.
I have no idea what I'm going to do with this thing because it is huge. Right now it's just rolled up, waiting for some place to go. And it may have to stay that way for a while. But I was like, yes, please. I will take that. So, yep. So, so then I did the raffle drawing, which, to keep it fair, I did not draw the tickets, but I had a big down the way in the next block of artist alley type tables was the guys from the Established Facts podcast.
Cool.
And Big Don was there with his family, and it happened that he was sitting at the table with his 3 boys. So I said, I need a child, and one child volunteered. Didn't know he was volunteering for, but he volunteered. So
Sweet. We will get you everywhere.
to keep it fair, I had someone who doesn't really know me that well. I mean, Don knows me, but his kids don't. Right. So I had an impartial hand reach in and pick out the winning ticket. So, and it wasn't Brandon's. So Brandon happened to walk up right after the ticket was pulled. He's like, did I win? I'm like, no, you did not. He's like, it's rigged. I'm like, blame the child.
Don't look at me.
Yep. So, not my problem. Blame the child with the small hand. He's the one that picked the ticket. So, but the winner actually ended up being the husband helping out his wife in one of the booths right near where I was. So I hand delivered their prize to them, and they were very excited. They've got 2 young kids at home. Cool. So I tried to make sure that whoever won, that there was, in theory, a nice balance of items that were appropriate for both. If it was an adult that didn't have any kids and just, had other adult friends that they game with, that they can make that work. Or, if it happened to be someone with children, that it would also be appropriate. So, but in this case, it went to someone who's got, two kids. That would be. They said that their kids will be very excited to bust open those games and stuff. So we had a nice laugh over the copy of Cards Against Humanity that I put in there because it was a family edition.
Oh, nice.
Which is nice. There are several different family editions out there, but this one was glow in the dark.
Oh, cool.
And, well, it being, you got to remember though, it's Cards Against Humanity, so the game doesn't glow in the dark. It's just the box.
Oh, but
and it even says so on the back of the box that it's just the box that glows. Because he was like, oh, I didn't know there was a family edition. He's like, oh, glow in the dark. I said, yeah, I'm not sure if it's just the box that glows in the dark or if the cards do too. And I said, no, in Cards Against Humanity, it's just the box. And then later he's like, yeah, it says here on the back, it's just the box that glows in the dark. I was like, oh, Cards Against Humanity, I love you all. They have the weirdest sense of humor.
Yes.
It's like I think I saw it on TikTok when they were doing the Everything Bagel edition, and some people, when they got theirs in the mail, the shipping box was full of loose Everything Bagel seasoning. It's Cards Against Humanity. They do what they want. So, they like to say it's a card game for bad people, but they're not really that bad. They just have a really weird sense of humor. So, or that time that they did I don't know, they did some sort of campaign or something, and everybody that contributed got $1. Like they literally mailed all the people just $1. So, I mean, they know what they're doing when it comes to marketing. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think their kids will definitely enjoy that. They can do the family edition to Cards Against Humanity. There was a Pokemon tabletop card game. There was one of the Funko games that they gave me last year at Gen Con. There was a copy of Throw Avocado from Exploding Kittens, which, if you know Throw Burrito, this is the next in that line of games. And actually, if you own Throw Burrito, there are instructions on how to combine it with Throw Avocado. So you can either play them separately or together. There's some boxes of candy in there. There is a plush Grogu.
Nice.
There is a thing of hand sanitizer in a Grogu themed. I don't know what you call those things, the rubbery things you can put your little bottles of hand sanitizer in.
Like a holder. Transport carrier.
Yeah, but it had Grogu on it. And some I think they were like 32-ounce cups, tumblers. They were like summer themed, so nice and big, big enough to hold your beverage of choice. And then the sticker pack that KJ threw in there. So I think it was a pretty good collection of stuff. So like nice fun and games in there. So fun for little something for everybody, every age, every inclination. So and like I said, they really, really seem to be happy that they won. So the husband, Christopher, he was like, I haven't won anything in a very long time. I'm like, well, there you go. So that was fun, even if Brandon is a sore loser. I'm just kidding. I don't know. He's just kidding too. Don't anybody take any of that seriously. Brandon and I just like to pull each other's chain every now and then. That's just the way we roll in the PopCon family. We're gonna bust each other's balls every now and then. Most of the time, we're making fun of Carl and his questionable pattern short choices, but yeah, it is what it is. He didn't wear really obnoxious shorts this time. He had a really, really obnoxious, like, highlighter yellow hat on. Both the Thursday when we were doing vendor load, and I think he was wearing it again Saturday. But yeah, the shorts. Usually Sunday is when he wears like his most outrageously patterned shorts. But the pair he was wearing on Sunday wasn't. I wouldn't say those were that outrageous. Maybe he's keeping it toned down because the Kentucky community doesn't quite. They don't know yet. Indy, we expect it because we know better.
Right.
But he's like, this is a new crowd. We don't want to scare him off quite yet with the craziness that is Carl's crazy collection of shorts. So
you have to acclimatize and then up the ante.
Yeah, maybe by year like 3, he can really bust out the really obnoxious looking stuff. So, so then it was time to packed up everything, loaded in the car, and got everything out to the car, in the car, turned the car on, and realized that I didn't have my cell phone.
Whoopsies.
So then I had to get back out, grab my badge, walk all the way back in. There it was sitting on the table. Yeah. So, I mean, I realized right away I didn't have it. Because I have it connected to my stereo. So when I get in, it connects to Bluetooth, and usually it'll start playing music. So when I get in and turn the car on and there's no there's nothing, I was like, okay, so I don't have my phone.
Don't panic, but run.
Yeah. So nice thing is I have an electric starter on my car, a remote starter.
Ooh.
So I could set the AC, close the car, lock it, start it with the remote, and have it running with the AC on while I went back in to get my phone. So by the time I came back out, it was nice and cool.
Yep.
So that's a win. We're turning lemonade out of lemons here.
That electric start is good for both winter and summer.
It is. It really is.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So then it was time to hit the road. I hit Starbucks on the way out, of course. So I had a little something on the road because Chauncey left as soon as he got up and was able to check out of the hotel and went home. So then I had the drive home, which it's really easy. It's practically a straight shot from Louisville to where I live. So really it was just like, hey, drive until you see the sign for your house, essentially. Your streets.
Your street, yep.
Your streets. So got home, unloaded. I have not even come close to unpacking yet at this point, but that's
Can't
okay.
Say I don't blame you.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think it went well. I know I heard concerns from some of the vendors that I stopped and talked to that they weren't necessarily happy. Like that, some of them they were okay. I wouldn't say necessarily happy, but they were okay with the foot traffic. But people weren't necessarily spending any money.
Gotcha.
From what they could see, it seemed like a lot of people were spending their money on the celebrities. More than anything, which I think that comes from a experience with these types of things, I think. Because when I first started going to cons, that was really like my main priority, is if there was a celebrity there. Like, my first Gen Con in 2013 when Peter Davison was there, like as soon as the doors opened and I was able to go in, like I was beelining to where Peter Davison was. I was not concerned about even like I had like blinders on. I was not even seeing the stuff that I was walking by. It's because I didn't know any better. I didn't know what the con experience necessarily was like. I just knew there was a celebrity there that I really wanted to meet. And that therefore that was my priority. But with time, obviously, occasionally there's still a celebrity that I went to go and see and get an autograph from and maybe get a photo. But then there are some times where there aren't, and it doesn't matter. I'll still wander the show floor. I make a priority.
Artificiality and all that other good stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I'll make it a priority to wander the show floor. Like when I went to, it was a GalaxyCon. I mean, it took me all 3 days, but I finally wandered up and down every aisle in the vendor hall to make sure that I covered the ground and make sure I wasn't missing anything cool that I wanted, that wanted to buy, even though I was also there for the celebrities and also to meet Zan and Charles and Zan's husband. But that just comes with experience. And like I said, that part of the country is lacking in those sorts of events. So they just don't know any better, I think. And really the best thing that can happen now is hopefully the local people who went had a good enough experience that they'll tell their friends and family. And so when next year comes around, the attendance numbers will go up because word of mouth has said people have heard via word of mouth that like, hey, there's this event called PopCon and it seemed to be run really well. And they've got cool stuff to, vendors and cool celebrities and panels and events. And, there were all sorts of other events. Like there was an escape room that was going the entire weekend. They had an after hours party Saturday night that they would occasionally make an announcement over the PA system. Like starts at 7 p.m. and goes till who knows when. I'm like, yeah, who knows when I'm gonna be fast asleep. I was in bed by 10. So they were doing they couldn't call it Squid Game again because that's copyright. So they were calling it PopCon Secret Games. That ran the entire weekend. There was a kids cosplay contest, and unfortunately I did not get to go watch. Lots of non-celebrity panels. Of course, there are also the celebrity panels, but not other non-celebrity panels. There was a group of professional magicians that were putting on magic shows throughout the weekend that I would have liked to have gone and seen one of those too. I walked by their booth at one point and I was just like, I'm so glad that magic is still like a thing that people get excited about. I was like, but who do we need to like beg, borrow, and steal to get like the magic, big flashy magic specials back on television? And one of the gals, she's like, well, there's stuff on like Netflix and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but it's like, I remember as a kid being really excited and like begging my dad to make sure he had the VCR set properly to record the next David Copperfield special on TV. So I was like,
yes, but he would make something disappear. Yes.
Walk through the Great Wall of China, stuff like that. Like, yeah. I was like, I love that stuff as a kid. We need to bring that stuff back.
Or even the miniseries that they had where that one guy was in the mask and he revealed some of the magician's secrets that you technically weren't supposed to. I love those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, who do we need to talk to bring that sort of stuff back to TV?
Whose palms do we need to grease? Because I mean, it seems
Whose phone
like
number do I need?
Yeah, it seems like they're moving away from the scripted and doing more stuff like this again. So,
Mhm.
oh,
Somebody out there knows somebody we need to tweet at. Please let us know.
Yes.
So, and I had a lot of people ask me throughout the weekend. They're like, what do you think? How do you think it's going? And I was like, I mean, it seems to be running well, as far as as far as I could tell. I didn't really have a lot of complaints. Yeah, I mean, I had to, get a little inventive when it came to, getting people to participate in the raffle and stuff like that. But that's just the nature of the beast when you're tabling. Is
Right.
if you're by yourself, you feel like you can't leave because what if you miss somebody?
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's like it's just not physically possible to stay there the entire time. At the very least, you got to go to the bathroom every now and then. In my case, I had signage. I had a sign that had the panel schedule on there. And then I made another little sign. So like if I was getting up just to go to the bathroom, it said, be right back. But if I knew I was going to be gone for an extended period of time because of a panel, it said, at a panel. And then I put it near the sign I had that had the panel schedule on it. But yeah, I made lots of notes because obviously I've tabled at stuff like In Conjunction before, and I've shared booth space at PopCon in the past, but this is our first time tabling at an event this large by ourselves. And it's a slightly different beast than something like In Conjunction or something a little smaller. So I made notes throughout the weekend of adjustments I'd like to make as far as signage is concerned, stuff that I need to bring, like maybe a blanket or a Snuggie next year if it's going to be that cold. Long johns, I don't know. Bring leg warmers back. Something. I really would have liked to have my knee brace at a couple of points. I could have used a cushion for the chair. I did buy one of those anti-fatigue mats though. So when I was standing, I wasn't standing directly on the concrete. That helped quite a bit. It's like $10 at Harbor Freight. So that's good there. So I could see ways to tweak things to make the table, a bit more inviting, a bit more easier to tell, who we are and what's going on and what exactly the hell we're doing there, that sort of thing. But I mean, overall, I can't really complain much about anything other than how cold it was. That would be my most severe complaint, was just how cold I was. Like by the time Sunday afternoon rolled around, I'm like, my nose is running and it was like I'm shivering all over. I was like, I'm just so cold. So but I had fun. I'm always down to support the PopCon family. I know Carl and Ryan, who's the ops who handled all the vendors, and Bree, who handles some of the paneling, and the other Les, who just kind of does a little bit of everything, and had a doppelganger who was part of the first aid crew, which was really weird because from the back I was like, is that Les? And then he turned his head and it's like his face was a little bit different, but from the back it was like he's like, and kind of from the front actually too, like Les Eller's like long lost kind of twin. So that was a wild. But yeah, I know the crew works really, really, really hard to try to put on the best event possible. I'll be interested to hear their feedback, as time goes on. I know they're locked in, I think, in a 5-year contract. I've heard 3 and I've also heard 5. with the Expo Center. So, you know, at the very least, we're looking at least 2 more of these. So, if not 4 more, at the very least, and that doesn't count indie as well. So, you know, I hope it was successful enough that they can, you know, that it can grow. I mean, it felt like early PopCon, like the first year PopCon, really, where people are like, what is this thing? I don't get it. You know, because it was, you know, the yeah, because a lot of the other conventions, they're very focused, you know, like the the collection of conventions run by people we will not mention, who are obviously just out to make money.
Yep.
May they
And
self-implode. They know who they are.
Yep.
So you've got conventions like that. You've got ones like obviously Gen Con and Origins and others where they're very game focused. You've got, you know, the GalaxyCon family of conventions, which I think are really well run, and they have they always have an interesting variety of celebrity guests. I will give them that. You know, it's not necessarily about high profile, but just having a good variety so that, you know, it caters to a large collection of guests, of fans. And then you've got the organization that runs, you know, Fan Expo. You know, not just Fan Expo Salt Lake, you know, Chrissy's home convention, but they also run all the other Fan Expo. You know, there's Fan Expo Dallas as well. They do MegaCon in Orlando. They do Fan Expo Canada as well. And from what I understand, they seem to be kind of hit and miss. Because, you know, obviously Chrissy, you know, has given her reports from Fan Expo, you know, Salt Lake Fan X is in the past and has always seemed to have a good time. But one of the Discords I'm in, somebody just went to Fan Expo in Dallas and they had an awful time.
Ew.
So I don't know what the disparity is there with the people that own and operate the Fan Expo, you know, collection of events, that it could be like so good in one city and like terrible in another. So, but PopCon, you know, I've never really had any complaints with PopCon. You know, Carl and the crew, they always are trying to do the very best, and some stuff's out of their control, some of it isn't, but they've always been good about you know, admitting when something is, you know, was their fault or not. So I'm excited. I'm excited for Indy, obviously. Should be a lot busier because obviously it's established in Indy. People know it. The celebrity guests are also pretty amazing, and from what I've heard, there's still more announcements to come, which who knows what that means, because the guest list already is really, really good. You know, Patrick Warburton and James Marsters, and of course Michelle Gomez and Sean Gunn and Michael Rooker. So should I really I may have to incorporate the Doctor Who fabric I use on the table into my photo with Michelle, because she's on it.
Nice.
So, because it's a giant panel with the TARDIS, the 12th Doctor, Clara, and Missy. So,
Ooh,
yeah,
awesome.
it's like Michelle is literally on the fabric that sits on our table. So
Cool.
to figure out what's a way to incorporate that into a photo op or something. So, but I got time to figure that out. So I got 2 months and some change to figure that out. So yeah, if anyone is interested, obviously PopCon Indy coming up at the end of August 25th through 27th at the Indianapolis Convention Center, which, you know, if you're local, you probably know your way around like the back of your hand. And if you're coming in from out of town, there are plenty of hotels that are attached to the convention center. So, yeah, hopefully you can find one that's or within very close walking distance where you're not walking, like cutting through like something weird or sketchy. So, because I saw some people walking. I wouldn't have necessarily, even in broad daylight. Unfortunately, the area is not the nicest. Unfortunately, I was not there for this, but I know some people who were, but right near one of the parking entrances to the expo center, there is a bowling alley, which in itself, you know, that's fairly typical for most cities of a decent size. Most have at least one bowling alley, and usually it's a bowling alley, probably usually with like also an arcade and maybe a bar, and they'll have food and stuff. But some folks that I talked to on Saturday had gone over to the bowling alley to get food and kind of hang out, maybe some drinks at the bar. I don't know if any of them actually bowled or not, or if that was just like, hey, it's close, you know, we're hungry, we could throw back some beers, let's just go here because it's convenient. But apparently there was a shooting in the parking lot that Friday night.
Wow. Yowza.
Yes, shots were fired, and as far as I know, nobody got hurt. I did speak to one person who lost a couple of windows in their vehicle because of said flying projectiles. And then the people inside could hear it, and apparently had, you know, were hiding under tables and stuff, waiting to see what was going to happen. So yeah, that's not cool by any means. But like I said, as far as I know, nobody got hurt. Or at least not civilians. I can't speak for the people actually, you know, doing the shooting. I have no idea what happened there, and nobody I spoke to knew what happened. You know, whether those people got picked up by the cops or whatever. I would hope so, but I don't have confirmation on that. So, yeah. I mean, that kind of thing can happen almost anywhere. It's just unfortunate that it happened so close to where our event was happening, and some of the people working said events or, you know, part of said event were almost, you know, involved. So yeah, at least with Indy, for the most part, you can get around at least the convention center and a lot of the neighboring hotels in the mall without ever having to step outside. Which, you know, crime can happen anywhere. I can't speak for the current statistics for the city of Indianapolis. I will tell you, late August in Indianapolis can be very, very hot. So staying inside where there's air conditioning will definitely benefit you. So keep that in mind at the very least. So, and then they have announced announced the dates for next year already. I can
Wow.
speak. So PopCon Louisville next year is going to be essentially the same weekend, close to the same dates, June 14th through 16th, 2024. So you can plan ahead for that. And of course, all up-to-date information can be found on the PopCon website, which I will have linked in the show notes. So, but yeah, I've got, I don't have a lot of pictures because again, stuck at the table.
Mhm.
I try to take pictures of cosplays when they walked by if I could. And a few times I got to wander the vendor hall, if I saw interesting stuff at a vendor's booth, I'd take a picture. So I've got some pictures. I will post make an album on our Facebook page so you can see those. Some of those obviously I post on social media throughout the weekend. And I do have some video as well. I made a little highlight reel on my TikTok, but it's not very long. So a longer highlight video will be up on our YouTube channel. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks. So there is that. So, but between now and then between now and, next PopCon event, I have InCon Junction and Gen Con. So, which thankfully with Gen Con, actually, I don't really have to plan a whole lot of stuff, at least not until the company emails start coming in that say, hey, stop by our booth, check out these new games we're bringing to Gen Con. But I do have the other panels to prep for in conjunction as well. I will be doing the library panel again, but I've got a couple other panels that are more appropriate for in conjunction that I need to work on. So, and then I will be, hopefully, as long as I get accepted, I will be doing the library panel and Name That Geeky Tune again at Indie.
Cool.
So if you missed out in playing Name That Geeky Tune in Louisville, you get a second chance for PopCon Indie. So those were my adventures in Kentucky. It was a good time. So if any of our listeners got to go and you have comments about your experience, you can send us feedback. You can email us fiveishfangirls@gmail.com, or you can go to our website, which is the fiveishfangirls.com, where you can connect with all our various social media accounts, which I would suggest, if you haven't yet, go check out our Instagram for some of those PopCon Louisville pictures. At least until I get the Facebook album up. There's also links to our Goodreads book club, where we discuss a Doctor Who book and or Big Finish audio every month. And if you would like to financially support us, you can do that a number of ways. We have our Ko-fi and our Patreon. And if you want a little something in return, we do have our merch up on Redbubble. So there is that. And of course, if you want to, all of that helps financially support the podcast side of our endeavors. But then also on our website is the links to our PayPal for the nonprofit Fangirls Give Back, and also the Amazon wish list links. Links for our Amazon wish lists for various stuffs that can help us with the work that the nonprofit is doing. So all sorts of fun stuff. And I have to say thank you to everybody who did give us some of their hard-earned money over the weekend. Either donating to get a greeting card, an upcycled greeting card, or donating to get raffle tickets, or in some cases just a straight up donation and didn't want anything in return. Just wanted to support us. So thank you to everyone that gives us their hard-earned monies however we receive them. So we greatly appreciate all of that. So all right, I am quickly running out of steam. So thankfully I have a voice, which is always good.
Yes.
But I am running out of steam, so we are going to sign off for this week.
This is Brittany Benzo saying goodnight.
This is Sally from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Snooze Fest commencing in 3, 2, 1.
Thank you for listening to the Fiveish Fangirls. Please visit thefiveishfangirls.com for details on how to further support the show, along with information on our nonprofit, Fangirls Give Back. We love our Fiveish fam and appreciate all of your feedback, shares, and encouragement. Remember to keep letting your geek flag fly.